Breaking Barriers, Building Dreams originated because, if I'm being completely transparent, we both had our own struggles, like we all do, right? Everybody has a different story, everybody has a past. And there was a point in my real estate career where I completely burned myself out. All I did was work. I didn't take care of myself, and I ended up partying, and I did drugs, and I drank a lot, and I turned that pain, and I really looked for external validation, which you don't find outside of yourself, you find it within. And so I had my spiritual awakening in about 2015 when I started doing yoga, and I really awakened that power within me. And then Kyle was a few years later. We've been together on and off for years.
20 years, we were just talking about this, yeah.
That's absolutely insane. But we spent a few years where we grew apart, where I knew that I had to focus on being a better version of myself, because if I'm honest, we were kind of toxic together. And he turned to drugs and alcohol. He has his own story. So really tell me where Breaking Barriers, Building Dreams, where did it originate from? Like, what was that breakthrough for you?
Breaking Barriers, Building Dreams was a result of the things that I went through growing up for the past 15, 20 years. When I was growing up, I was so focused on being a hockey player. That was all I ever wanted to do. It's all I ever thought I was going to be. It was my entire identity. And I was latched onto that. It's all I focused on. It's all I did my whole life growing up. And then one night when I was 17 years old, me and some hockey buddies were messing around. We were jumping this hill in the park, and we were just thought nothing of it. It was the middle of the night. I was just a passenger in the beginning, and everyone was doing it. It was totally fine. And then when I got into the car and it was my turn to drive, when I came over the hill, we hit something, and we didn't know what that was. We knew we hit something, but we weren't sure what it was. So it turned out to be two girls, and we didn't find out that till the next day. When I was working, I could hear it on the radio. Like, they were looking for somebody that hit these people in the park. And I knew right away that that was me. So I had to make a hard decision. Obviously, I had to own it, which led to me having to call my dad and let him know, like, hey, Dad, that was me. And that was one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life, because I knew right then and there everything in my life was going to change. Obviously, one poor decision, the result isn't going to be a good one. So that was the first time my dad actually smoked a cigarette in front of me ever. Was that moment. Like, I always knew he was a smoker, but he was just like, that was the only time he ever had a smoke in front of me. So I knew it was bad. And then, so obviously there was a court, and what I did was like the wrong thing. I didn't take ownership of it. I ran from it, as you could say. My mom lived here in Lloydminster. Obviously, I met Tennille through all that, but we can get into that later. But moved to Lloydminster, where my mom, she was the only mom, like a single mom, no structure, no nothing, and like just basically a complete free-for-all. And I took advantage of that, given what I destroyed over here and my previous life. So yeah, really hard to talk about, because yeah, this affected everything, everyone, and everything I was ever a part of, my whole identity. So that led to drinking, drugs, partying, fighting all the time, like just the lifestyle you don't want to be doing. And ultimately, the court situation, everything happened there, and that put me into a probation. Like, they didn't even just send me to jail, which was a blessing, but I didn't take advantage of it. So that led to me getting arrested multiple times, and finally they just hauled me to jail, where I stayed for 45 days. And that's kind of like the first like form of like figuring my shit out, like rock bottom moment, which, you know, I had to kind of own that. But I thought drinking was the problem, because that's what got me to jail, obviously. So I quit drinking, did the 35-day rehab. I knew what I was like becoming, right? So I thought I did the work, but what I realized was I wasn't actually fixing the problem. You know, I was like, because I was drinking, and it was just the substance I was choosing to like mask the pain and the regret and what I did to those girls, what I did to my family, what I did to my little brother, my big brother,
All the guilt, all the emotions.
All the guilt, all the emotion. So what I did was, yeah, I quit drinking, which was fine. And I found it was easy to quit drinking, because I was just like, this is obviously a problem. It's rock bottom. And rock bottom is actually a blessing, because at least you know where you're at, right? Like the only way you can go is up. And
But that's what they always say, where there's a breakdown, there's an opportunity for a breakthrough, right? Because you sometimes when things are good, you're in a comfort zone. And when you're in that comfort zone, you don't always want to make a change. You make a change when you're either forced to or you have no other choice to.
Yeah, and I feel like people stuck in the middle is the reason why we got Breaking Barriers, Building Dreams and the programs and the community and the Forge Live event, all the things happening because, you know, being in the middle is the worst place you can be, which is where I ended up after all this. So yeah, I quit drinking, but eventually, you know, I would go through these waves where I was like, good, we're great, things are good, you're not drinking. But then you start like dabbling into drugs and finding that next mechanism that's because you haven't actually did the real work, the hard work on figuring out like what happened, dealing with your issues, dealing with those underlying issues that a lot of men are struggling with. Like this is the big reason why we built Breaking Barriers, Building Dreams and the community and the Forge is because people aren't realizing that they're attached to this old identity of themselves, like the what of could have been. You know, maybe you were a professional, like maybe you were really good at sports like I was, and you had that moment and you could have been great, but you just didn't make it. Or maybe you had that one moment where you're like sophomore high school legend, and then you're attached to that. And then obviously after that, that's like the peak of your life. And it's like, you got to understand that you got to keep moving and raising the bar and elevating yourself because or else that's just going to be a what of could have been moment and you're going to attach to that identity and you're going to live in guilt and shame and all this doubt of like not being able to do what you set out to do, right? So
but that's where ultimately, when you look back of why everything always happens for us, not to us, we're always being guided, right? The universe, God, grace, we're always being guided, even when we don't know why. Like I look back at things in my life where I would just follow that inner knowing, not knowing why. And I'd be like, this is crazy. Why am I doing this? But then you look back and you're like, oh, this happened for me to become that version of me. So even like you, and like Kyle said, we've known each other for about 20 years. We've grown together. We've grown apart where we had to spend years where we had to work on ourselves to become better versions. There was time in our relationship where I remember being like, I have to let this go because I can't fix him. He needs to work on himself and I can only do what I can do by becoming the version of me. And then I started doing those things and then he started to elevate with me, right? And that's what they always say is if you're going through that with a partner or someone else around you, I spent years of my life trying to fix Kyle and like really what it was a reflection back to me. What do I need to fix within myself? Where do I need to grow? And it was easier to blame someone else. It was easier to blame in a victim mentality versus looking at it and like, okay, why is that reflecting back to me? Where do I need to grow? And what can I do? And all we can do is what's in our own control. So what I did is, how can I grow? How can I be the partner that I need to be to attract the partner I want? How do I need to become that version of me? And ultimately, when we start to do that, we ignite that energy. And usually one of two things happens. Your partner either elevates with you or sometimes you grow apart. And if I'm being honest, anyone who really knows us knows our relationship was like this. And we broke up quite a few times because we needed to grow apart. We needed to become the versions of us that we needed to become. But what always brought us back together is I always knew deep within you was the version of you that I was desired and that I knew that I needed, that I knew that you were meant to be, right? And I think that's why we always grew apart, but we grew back together, was I knew that that person within you, the person you were being on the outside world wasn't who you were within you. And I always saw that within you. So as soon as you started doing the program and you started becoming unbreakable and you started doing these things, you stepped into the man that I knew that you were meant to be. You stepped into the man that wasn't masking all those pains anymore. You were the person that you were designed to be, right? And I think that's where we really have to look at, like you said, comfort zone is the middle. That's where people get stuck. Oh, it's comfortable. But why are we staying in the comfort zone? Why not push ourselves? And even before this, we started this podcast, we were having a conversation with Britt, who's doing the video, and it's really about becoming the best version of you. So Kyle's doing his first half Ironman. He's doing a 70.3. We're super excited about it. But we're talking about it with Britt, and she's like, hey, I ran 100 kilometers. She did a run like that too. And as soon as we start talking, that energy is exciting because we're growing, we're motivating, we're excited about that. And that's why it's important who you surround yourself with. People that push you, people that are going to motivate you. And honestly, there's that ego and that higher self within each of us. We all have an ego, and that ego is there to protect you, to motivate you, to push you. But sometimes that narrative can turn on you and it's holding you back, right? And then there's the higher self where you're stepping into being that best version of you, and that ego can be used as competition. So even when we're talking about doing the Sinister 7, before, I'm not gonna lie, I was holding back a little bit, but as soon as we're talking about it, I'm like, no, I'm just gonna do it, right? And that's where you can use that ego to be what drives you, but you gotta check your ego because your ego can also hold you back. And that's where listening to you honestly look at the story of what happened and be honest about it is what sets you free. That's where you can actually help other people because you were honest with yourself instead of turning to drugs, turning to alcohol, turning to all these other things. It's looking at the emotions of, okay, and how do I use those emotions, not let the emotions use you, right? And that's where I've learned a lot of that from Tony in different trainings of how do we do that. And so with Breaking Barriers, Building Dreams, it's all about breaking the barriers. We all have barriers. You hear Kyle's barriers, I've had barriers, but when we can actually be honest about what are those barriers that hold us back? What's the story that we're telling ourselves? How can we set ourselves free and break those barriers? Because when you can break those barriers, you can build your dreams. And as I was hearing you talk, Kyle, I was really just thinking about that old story, that identity of being a hockey player, everything you held on to. How did it happen for you, not to you? Because now I look on the outside and we look at the people we're surrounding ourselves with. You could have been a professional athlete, and I know that eats you alive watching your brother living out your dream, but now you look at the men that you're helping. There's the Forge. A lot of them are all ex-pro professional athletes. There's a lot of men, and there's a lot of women too, that, like you said, they have that identity, that they're attached to what they could have been. But then when you can let that go, you're always being guided. The universe is always guiding you because now we look at where you are, and now you're here. You went through that experience to help other people, to help them with that story because you can relate. So how do you think that happened for you in a way? Like, how is it guiding you to where you're meant to be?
Yeah, for sure. So, well, the end of the story is basically I found a program called 75 Hard. I was one of those other almost rock bottom moments, using drugs, fighting with you, gonna lose my soon to be wife that I don't even know yet. And I had one of those moments, and I really like to talk about this because it's important, because even going through all this shit for the whatever, my half my 20s, I'd have moments where, you're making lots of money, you're doing really good, but you're obviously dabbling in drugs as well. And that comes from the oil field. And I know a lot of people struggle with this. And I do want to note this because that lifestyle, like being away from family, working 12 hours a day, driving to work, having to leave your family, missing birthdays, missing Christmas, missing all these things, like that's a stressful life. And what's normalized out there when you're out there in minus 40 with the boys, like drugs, partying, drinking, and you get adapted to that lifestyle. So that was a big part of like the drugs and the life and all of that stuff that I was doing is like, it was keeping me down, which I realized, but I always knew inside me that like I was meant for more. Like you have this voice inside you. It's like, even when I went to jail, it was like, my whole mentality was like to be like the best in here, like just flip a switch. Like I always had that inside me. Like it's from hockey, it's from coaches, it's from all these things I went through. Like, it's like, we're like in sports, you're built to like, if you're like serious about it, you're a man. Like how to follow through, how to execute, how to like show up, how to work out, how to do these things. So those disciplines were always in me, partly because my dad, he taught me how to work hard, like, you know what I mean? So all these things were inside me. So I always, like, as bad as my life ever was, like as bad as our fights ever were, like as bad as anything ever was, I was always plugging into like some sort of like motivation, whether it's like just audios, books, like, you know what I mean? Like, so like inside me, I was always knew I was going to be great. And then I was just making these poor decisions, which is like a lot of people are in this moment. They know they are meant for more. They know they can be more. But then they also like cave to these environments and these vices and these lifestyles because and then what that does for them is that just reminds them of like, you break the promise to yourself, like you don't follow through, and this causes guilt, shame, and discomfort, and depression and anxiety, and sometimes suicide. And it's just like, you got to realize that it always comes back to yourself and you following through, because that's what the program taught me, and that's what we teach now, is like, it's you versus you. And personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion, because that's how we change this world. That's how we change the culture. And if we look around society right now, it's just because men are weak, like some women too, and people are weak, and that's because they spend billions and billions of dollars to keep us comfortable. The pharmaceuticals, the food we eat, the water we drink, like literally what we consume on our phones, the algorithms, everything is designed to keep you broken, stuck, unmotivated, pissed off, frustrated, all these things. So in order for you to teach yourself to be like really great, you have to learn how to be a disciplined person. And this is a perishable skill. Like if you don't train it, you lose it. And discipline could be a different for everybody. It's like, what do you do? Like your routines, like Tennille preaches and talks about all these things all the time, but it's like, are you actually a disciplined person? Because maybe you go to the gym, maybe you do these things that you think you're disciplined, but like, do you eat your freaking vegetables? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are you that disciplined where you're actually still doing the things that nobody actually sees either? So that's what we train in Unbreakable. And so me going through all this shit for 10 years, almost 10 years, luckily my wife stayed with me, now wife, now beautiful daughter, and being a father is just amazing. And that was a big reason why I needed to figure my shit out, is like, dude, the younger generation, there's nothing better we could be doing than figuring out our shit and leading by example and showing them what it means to follow through. Because when I did 75 hard, I realized that I didn't need rehab. I didn't need the therapy. I didn't need this. I just needed to do the hard work over and over every day without quitting, because I get on calls every day. You talk about the men we help, and it's like, it's the same story. It's literally the same story. It's like, I'm good for a bit, and then I quit, or I struggle, and then I go out, and then I do this big vicious cycle. And it's just like, dude, that was me. And that is a lot of people, is like, you're just stuck in this cycle, and it's only because you quit on yourself. It's only because you don't follow through. So
we repeat what we don't repair, right? And that's where it's just a habit.
Exactly.
And we all have habits, but that's where we teach different tools and strategies. And that's where, again, being an independent contractor, formerly for Tony Robbins, I know a lot of different tools and strategies on how you can create a new habit, how you can become that new identity. And so that's where we really paired them together, so that it's the body, the mind, and the soul of how you can become that version of you that you want to become, that you know that you're called to become, because we all have that within us. And that's where, when we come together as a collective, we can really help people to ignite that inner fire within them again, and to become the version that they know they're meant to be, without all of the attachments, with all the vices, without all the things that are anchoring them and holding them back, right?
And that's what we're building. Like with Breaking Barriers, Building Dreams, it's like, the one thing I didn't have 6-7 years ago when I started the program for the first time and never looked back was one day one changed my whole life. It's like, the one thing I didn't have was a community, because when you're growing, you're going to lose, like, you're going to remove people just naturally from your life. You're going to remove things, environments, like all these things, right? And that's just a natural part of growing and becoming the person you want to be.
Which is uncomfortable. And it's a thing
very
that
uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable, but it is, like, when you look back now too, because I feel like over the last several years, there has been people, not that you don't love them, you can love them from afar, but maybe they change the energy when they're around you. You always feel drained, or maybe they're gossiping all the time, or they're just not really igniting that energy within you. Sometimes you just naturally, spend less time, or you set those boundaries. Other times it's really uncomfortable. But when we let that go, we make space for the new. We make space for the people that do ignite that energy, that really make you feel like that, how you want to become, right? That support you where you're at and where you're going.
And that's why we're building the community. And that's why we partnered with the Forge. And so Forge is a leadership men's event. We're on chapter 4 now, which you can learn more about in the community. But it's an exciting partnership, because this is what we're building, is like a community for people to come into. And so when you're changing your life and you're becoming better, you're not alone. Like we're like, that's the whole point. And like the rise of AI, all these things, I feel like having a community of a brotherhood, a sisterhood of people who want to win, like we mentioned Britt, like wanted to do the run, this is where you find those people, because it's going to become a resource hub for you to find the people that you need in your life that help you and become your new friends and become your support partners and your accountability partners. And that's a big thing that people are lacking, because they think they have to change their life on their own, and they don't, because their communities like this exist, and it isn't just ours. There's lots of other great communities. So that's the whole thing we're building. Breaking barriers, building dreams. It started as a passion project. Mostly it was partly because my wife was like, this is her element. This is like, you know, like sitting here talking, all these things. Like, this is like, you see her in her light, like it's perfect, right? So like a part of me was started the page like to help her. And then also a little bit, a part of it was to just keep myself like accountable for my own journey. And it's like, these videos help me, or these quotes or these things. It's like just staying plugged in. I had a buddy, he just shared one of my posts and like did a video, and he was like, it's kind of like reading the Bible, reading your posts. And I was just like, no, it is. Like, you got to plug into that like self-development aspect when you're trying to change your life, because the hard days, you need something to remind you to like keep pushing, keep going, keep following through. So that's where the page started. And then we started helping men just naturally through DMs that, you know, like I get lots of DMs a day, and it's just like the same kind of story. It's like, so my story, and it's like, dude, I can help you. It's like, start the program, start these, do these tasks, do it every day. And then we started getting reviews, and then people started changing their life, and then people just naturally started doing it. And now we're building that into a whole ecosystem with the Forge, with the live events. So the live events are like, that's the thing. You need the live events to like back up the community where everyone can get together. You met all these new friends. Now you can go meet them in person. And then all the new people you can bring back to the community. And it's just this big ecosystem that we're building. And it's really exciting because it's like really like heartwarming to watch us like impact the culture. Like, you know what I mean? Like to watch people, because that's why I'm so passionate about this, is because I use this exact program to change my whole entire life. Like literally, and I know when I'm speaking to somebody like on the phone and it's like, dude, you're me. And it's like, I changed my life. So if you can commit to 84 days of like non-negotiable, I'm doing this, like I'm not quitting on myself. If you can do that, your whole life's going to be different. And I almost know that for a fact.
But it's also that it's just starting one day at a time, right? It's progress over perfection. And there's many times when we did the Unbreakable Challenge when we were first starting, I've had to start over before. Yeah. And you know
that's the point of the program. Like
you keep going so you can show yourself that you've done it, right?
Yes.
And that's where it's really just about the things that you do every single day. Create that habit, create the new version of you. So really, you're looking at what version of you do you want to become? What version of you do you know you're called to be? Because we all have that inner knowing. We all have a connection to our intuition or God or whatever you connect to. But when you have that calling that you know you're meant for more, you're meant for more. And when you look at that version of you, who do you want to become? What does that version look like? What does it feel like? What do you think like? And then you start taking those actions every single day. Before you know it, you'll look back and be like, wow, I actually am that version, or I grew into it. And that's why we always have to have a metric, right? We always have to have a metric, because naturally when you progress, if you don't look back and think how grateful you are for where you were and look where you came from, you'll never know where you're going, right? And so it's really about being clear on where were you, where do you want to go, and what are the actions you need to take in between to create that life, to create the version of you that you want to be. And we're learning, we're growing every single day. That's the thing where I think we're all human beings. Nobody's perfect. We're not perfect. We screw up, but it's like we choose again to be the version we want to become, right? Like you're aware, you become, and then you look back and you're like, wow, 10 years ago, something that would have completely sent us in a spiral. Now it's like we have a different tool set. We know what to do in that moment to be the version we want to be, to anchor us, to ground us, right? And I think that's what Breaking Barriers, Building Dreams is all about. So as you guys begin to watch, like it's going to continue to grow. It's going to begin to unfold. So tell us, where Breaking Barriers, Building Dreams, when you look at your goal, when you look at the vision, what is it becoming?
The goal is to impact 1 million people. Like, and that's not just like, we don't have to go hands on. It's like the thing about you becoming your best self is the ripple effect. It's like you, just by you, like eating healthy, living to a higher standard, working out, showing up for your friends, showing up for your family, just by you doing those things, by becoming the person that the program builds you to be, is you, they take notice, and then they don't even need to be told what to do. They just say, hey, Kyle's doing it, I can do it too. And then they go out and they do the work and they change their life, and then someone sees them close to them, and then they do the exact same thing. So it won't take a lot of us to actually get in the community, start doing the program, work together, become great. And we can actually impact culture. We can change culture, because that's something we didn't even talk about, is like everybody can look around the world right now and see where we're going. Like, it's like, it doesn't take a wizard to see like the trajectory of like where we're headed. Yeah, like shit's gonna happen. Like, it's regardless, and like that should be your motivator. It's like, I want to protect my family, I want to show up for my family, like my family, and you want to be a person that can be on that level, and then also the ability to change the world by you being personally great. Like,
but that's where it's all in energy, like, which I kind of
energy,
talked about before,
and that's
right?
so true, man. Like,
It's all in energy,
it's
and it's
vibration.
when you
raise your
become that
vibration.
higher vibration, then every step you take, everywhere you walk,
Everywhere you go,
you start to take that energy with you, and you can inspire people without even meaning to inspire people. But that's really what it's all about. With Breaking Barriers, Building Dreams is really just about igniting that inner power within you, and no matter what that looks like, just choosing to try to be the best version of yourself. And the best version of yourself isn't always going to be on 100%, but it's going to choose to be, how can I be that energy that's going to help other people? How can I be that energy that's going to teach my daughter right from wrong? Or how can I really just ignite becoming the best version of me? And so Breaking Barriers, Building Dreams, that's where we're going. So we hope that you guys want to become a part of the community, no matter where you're at in your journey. It's just about becoming the best version of you. Like Kyle said,
not
it's
even
you
just
versus
best version. Let's like clear there. Like, it's like literally, you want to become a person that follows through, who does what he says he's gonna do, and that's gonna lead to that. Because like, everybody just quits on themselves. That's the problem. Like, you say you're gonna do something, you do it for 2 days, and then you quit, and then you go back to living how you were. Like,
but it's a you versus you, meaning you're not in competition with anyone else. You're just in competition with being a better version of you than you were yesterday. So maybe today is your starting day. Maybe it's you have one less cigarette. Maybe it's you go to the gym once. It's just chunking it down, because if you create it where it's too complex, complexity is an execution killer. You got to keep it simple. So if there's one thing you want to do, just do one thing. Ed Millett wrote the book, The Power of One More, and I always use it when I'm at the gym and I'm like, okay, I want to quit, or I'm running and I'm like, nope, 1 more kilometer. What's one more step? What's one more thing? That's how you start. Chunk it down. Don't look at it as the end goal. Just focus on today, making that decision and starting today, right now. So we want you to break barriers and build your dreams with us. That's where we're going. And I'm grateful that we get to do this together, even though we all have our different ways of doing things. And that's where we can collaborate and come together as a community so that we can help other people and be a part of the mission. So thank you for joining us today. And we can't wait to see for you to elevate and really break the barriers and build the dreams that you know that you're designed and destined to become.